Have you ever wondered what happens after a great empire falls? What rises from the ashes? In 146 BC, after a century of conflict, the mighty city of Carthage, the jewel of the Mediterranean, was utterly destroyed by Rome. The fields were sown with salt, a symbolic act to ensure nothing would ever grow there again. But history has a funny way of surprising us. The story of North Africa didn't end with Carthage's fall. In many ways, it was just beginning. This is the story of a land reborn, a tale of transformation, resilience, and the birth of a new world from the embers of the old. With Carthage gone, Rome had a new, vast territory on its hands. What was once its greatest rival was now the province of Africa. Initially, Roman control was harsh, focused on extracting resources and preventing any future threat. But simply ruling by the sword isn't sustainable. Rome, ever the pragmatist, knew it needed to build, not just conquer. They established a new administrative capital, not on the ruins of Carthage, but nearby. This new city, and the governance it represented, was the first step in a profound transformation. The Romans laid down their grid-like streets, built forums, temples, and aqueducts, stamping their authority not just with legions, but with engineering and law. But how do you govern a people you've just conquered? You can't replace everyone. The Romans were masters of incorporation. Instead of trying to impose a completely alien system, they cleverly integrated the existing local structures. Punic and Berber elites, the local aristocrats and leaders, were offered a deal. They could keep their land, their local influence, and even gain Roman citizenship as long as they played by Rome's rules. They became the crucial intermediaries, collecting taxes, administering local justice, and keeping the peace. It was a brilliant strategy. It gave the local populations a stake in the success of the Roman project, turning potential rebels into partners. This fusion of local knowledge and Roman administrative power created a stable and efficient bureaucracy that would last for centuries. Walking through the ruins of cities like Leptis, Magna, or Thuga, today, you can literally see this cultural fusion set in stone, side by side with temples to Jupiter and Minerva. You find inscriptions dedicated to the old Punic gods, Baal-Hammon and Tanit, who were often syncretized with their Roman counterparts, Saturn and Calestis. Latin became the language of government and high culture, but in the streets and homes, people continued to speak Punic and various Berber languages. The toga might have been the fashion in the forum, but local traditions, foods, and family structures persisted. This wasn't a simple replacement of one culture with another. It was a dynamic blend, a new Romano-African identity that was unique in the Roman Empire. This cultural hybridity was a source of immense strength and creativity, producing famous figures like the writer Apulus, author of the Golden Ass, who proudly celebrated his mixed heritage. This stable political and cultural environment set the stage for an unprecedented economic boom. North Africa became the breadbasket of Rome. Vast quantities of grain, olive oil, and wine flowed from its fertile fields to feed the sprawling metropolis. The region wasn't just an agricultural powerhouse. It was also famous for its wild animal trade, for the gladiatorial games, and its production of a luxurious red slip pottery that was exported across the empire. The pinnacle of this prosperity came under the Severan dynasty in the late 2nd and early 3rd centuries A.D. The emperor, Septimius Severus, was himself a native of Leptis Magna in modern-day Libya. He poured immense wealth into his homeland, embellishing its cities with magnificent arches, forums, and basilicas. During this golden age, North Africa was one of the wealthiest and most urbanized regions in the entire Roman world, a testament to the success of its integration. But as the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. By the 3rd century A.D., the Roman Empire entered a period of crisis. Civil wars, economic instability, and external threats weakened the central authority. In North Africa, this decline manifested in different ways. Roman control became less secure, and local power dynamics began to shift once more. Amidst this turmoil, a new force emerged that would fundamentally reshape the region: Christianity. North Africa became a vibrant and influential center of early Christian thought. It produced some of the most important figures in the history of the Church, like Tertullian, Cyprian, and, most famously, Augustine of Hippo. Their writings and theological debates defined much of Christian doctrine. The Church created a new social structure, a new source of authority that often rivaled and eventually surpassed that of the weakening Roman state. The transition from a pagan Roman North Africa to a Christian one was a monumental shift that would define its identity for centuries to come. While the story of Roman Africa often focuses on the coastal cities, there's another crucial part of the puzzle. Away from the direct control of the legions in the mountains and pre-desert regions, the indigenous Berber populations, also known as the Amazigh, were never fully subdued. They maintained their own languages, social structures, and traditions. As Roman power waned, these groups began to assert their independence more forcefully. Warlords and tribal confederations carved out their own kingdoms and principalities on the fringes of Roman territory. These Berber kingdoms, like the one led by the famous queen, Kahina, centuries later, represented a persistent, alternative source of power. They were not just barbarians at the gates. They were an integral part of the North African landscape, interacting with the Roman world through trade, raiding, and as auxiliary soldiers in the Roman army. Their growing strength was a clear sign that the era of unified Roman control was over, paving the way for the next chapter in North Africa's long and complex history. From the ashes of Carthage, a new civilization was born, one that was Roman, Punic, and Berber all at once. It was a land of incredible wealth, vibrant culture, and profound intellectual change. The transformation of North Africa after the Punic Wars shows us that history is not just about destruction, but also about creation and adaptation. It's a powerful reminder that even after the most devastating fire, new life can and will emerge, often in ways no one could have predicted. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through time. If you enjoyed this exploration of North Africa's incredible history, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories from our shared past. Let me know in the comments which part of this story you found most fascinating. Until next time, stay curious.